YouTube, welcome to another unboxing. I got an exciting one for you, and I'm uber excited about a particular RM we just received. Only 15 of them made in the world, so stay tuned. What I decided to do is not to bore you, because we get a ton of Rolexes here every single day, right? And I've always said, look, how much more can I talk about a Rolex Submariner? Subs, and GMTs. I will stop on one Rolex, and that is this Everrose Daytona. And the reason I'm gonna stop on this Everrose Daytona, because this is a conversation that came up. I was doing a gray market podcast with Avi about, what is it, buy, sell, marry, or something or other. And the reason it came up is because this is the first ever Rose Daytona made by Rolex, right? This is the OG Rose Gold Daytona. But that's a watch I told people, if you have one, to keep. Because if you bought it back when these things first came out, you're talking about low 20s the price on them was, you know, they're still trading double that today. So certainly a keeper in my mind, because again, we talked about collecting Rolexes with the fact that they make millions of watches every single year. You know, what can you possibly collect? Well, I always say collect the first and the last. And this is a great watch to keep. Plus it's a beautiful watch. It says Speedmaster Racing on here, if you guys can see that. And that's because this was done for a legend of an F1 driver, Michael Schumacher. And this is the Omega Michael Schumacher. You know, a Speedy is a must keep in your collection, right? We talked about this numerous times. A moon watch for the most part, but this is a close second for me, again, because of their association with car racing, right? But again, these can be picked up relatively inexpensive, even relatively inexpensive to the moon models. So certainly one that I recommend in a collection for more or less no money, as we like to say. With that said, I'm gonna move on to a Jaeger, part of their newer collection, the Jaeger Automatic. I'm gonna say 50s and 60s aesthetic on this watch. Super clean watch, uber legible, big date, or big enough date I should say, bigger than your norm that you would see at 3 o'clock. And again, when we're talking about a watch, this retails under $10,000, obviously sells at a discount on the secondary. You know, from a major brand, hot take, I will take this over a Patek 𝗙𝗏𝗏, and the reason for that is price point. If I want a plain Jane watch that's gonna show me the time and the date, that's gonna be uber legible, I'm going with a Jaeger, because again, Jaeger being the watchmaker's watchmaker while making their own stuff, this isn't gonna stop, is it? I'm gonna put this on mute. I've always found value in Jaeger. I've always said there's value in Jaeger, starting with their plain stuff, is all the way out to their most complicated stuff. You can pick up Jaeger tourbillons, perpetual calendars for pretty much no money, because again, from the get-go, their retail prices are not high. And if you consider the discount on the secondary on them, you always end up getting a deal. I'm gonna move on to what is a watch I'm gonna tell everybody not to sleep on. I guess it'd be good if it was the strap and the watch were together, and that is the A.Lange Zeitwork. We talked about Langes, where they've gone as a company, what Richmond is doing with them in terms of cutting down production. The A.Lange Zeitwork has now become a piece that you can't just walk into the A.Lange boutique and buy. So I tell people, while they're still trading under list, go out there, buy as many pre-owned ones as you can if you're somebody that wants to hold things a little bit long-term, see it pop, maybe sell it, put the profit into some other watches, and so on and so forth. On the outside, seemingly doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal. Trust me when I tell you, horologically, this thing is a beast. A.Lange Zeitworks, in pretty much any variation, any metal, is certainly one of those, you know, hold pieces. Let's move on to, actually, I want to move on to this box right here. These guys reached out to me on Instagram and said, hey, would you mind if we send you some stuff? And you know me, I always like giving people shout outs. I don't do the sponsorships, any of that stuff, but people do send me cool stuff from time to time. And if it's cool, I'll tell them it's cool. The name right off the bat, Only the Blind. It's an interesting play on name. One thing I do appreciate is packaging. Packaging is one of the things that we did with the gray market sweatshirts. I said, I don't want a single piece of merchandise coming out of here unless the packaging is proper and it matches the product. Oh, look at that, see-through paper. That's kind of cool. Dear Roman, as I mentioned on Instagram, huge fan of the show, love the content you put out, amazing to see the business growing to the scale that it has, best of luck. Please find and close a complimentary piece from the latest Spring/Summer 23 collection from Only the Blind London. Focus on combining elements of streetwear and contemporary luxury contemporary luxury with a core brand value and creating products to the finest quality of fabric, fit, and manufacture. The brand signature statement, blessed are those who have not seen, yet still believe, is a key message that is continuously seen throughout the collections. When there's no clear path or result in sight, you persevere. Kind of like that. Instagram is igor.otb or Only the Blind. Easy enough. So guys, check them out. Let's see what this is. Ooh, see now, I got to do the test, right? I got to check the fabric. I got to do the test. Oh, wow. It's super clean in the front, but check this out. This is dope. I really like this a lot, actually, Igor. Let's see what else. Now you got me curious. What else is in here? Oh, this is something else too. Look at this. Oh my God, look at this. Blessed are those who have not seen yet still believe. This is nice, and the quality is there. And there's a hoodie. Of course, there's a hoodie. Only the Blind hoodie. And look at that. Igor, thank you so much. Thank you for Only the Blind, and I will wear this. And I'm sure some of the guys in the office are going to want to steal one of these things. All right, let's go back to some watches. This is a watch unboxing. I'm leaving these Richard Mille's for last. I'm going to go through these two APs to see what's in here. I think color-wise, or colorway as they call it in the sneaker world, I think the Ghost is the prettiest combination. Correct me, prove me wrong. AP is my favorite brand. I'm a big fan of the offshores, especially going backwards to the limited editions. But for some of the regular production pieces, this has got to be one of my favorite pieces because the colors on this just work. Like even little things like the strap, right? But it's darker in the back and it kind of translates to the front. The strap is perfect for it. Just everything about this watch is very legible. Offshores has always been uber legible because of the big applied numerals. And to me, that's one of the prettiest colorways that it's out there. As I said, prove me otherwise, or show me one that's better looking than this in terms of color. And it's also very versatile in terms of what to wear this with, right? Because of its color, gray tends to be one of those neutral patterns that people, even use when they paint in a house. This is a ladies Royal Oak, 37 millimeters with a diamond dial. And this is the automatic version. And I say that because a lot of ladies Royal Oaks were quartz, and now they actually went into the automatic side of things. Now, a watch that's not cheap, but also a watch that is damn near impossible to find. There's just not a whole lot of ladies Royal Oaks out there. We get a lot of calls for ladies Royal Oaks, especially in the 37 millimeter in this very combination, rose gold bracelet with a diamond bezel. And they're very, very difficult to find. I don't know if it's a production thing. That's what most will probably say. But me personally, I will say it's the fact that ladies don't often sell their watches or trade their watches back. Most ladies, and my wife included, are hoarders when it comes to their watches and jewelry because they never want to sell anything. They want to keep their stuff. Last but not least, a couple of RMs, and this is what I wanted to talk about. The RM55 TPT Bubba, a watch that trades today for around $400,000. I have a story for you. In fact, I'm going to pull this up on my phone. Ready? I'm going to go back to, this was in Aruba. Oh, by the way, this was me and my wife in Aruba. Little 𝗙𝗰𝗲𝗯𝗍 right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. I had the carbon 𝗙𝗲𝗍, which is probably the most comfortable offshore. And she had the lady 𝗙𝗲𝗍, which still has, which proves the point I talked earlier. This was back in 2014. She still has that watch. I will find this. Oh, there it is. Look. So if you look at this video, there's the same watch. Now this is 2016, and Richard Mille has started to pick up steam. Wait for it. Oh wait, I also had the black version. So, at the time the watches were retailing for around $102,000. I actually bought both of them at a discount. They ended up costing me about 83 grand a piece. I've owned that watch for 83,000. I think I ended up selling it for like around 90 that time, and how the times have changed and how I wish I would have kept it, because at the end of the day, you can't take away the fact that they're just amazing looking watches. They're uber comfortable on the wrist. They're very light. They make a statement. And honestly, people asked me before, where do you go with RM? Do you go with the chrono or the non-chrono? If I were to go with a chrono, it would be one of these. A little bit of Richard Mille history, and everybody complaining about these things being plastic watches and not a whole big to do. Richard Mille came out of the gate with high horology, and they did it in a big way. One of the things that they did was the chronograph, specifically the split-second chronograph. One of the most collectible watches that I think everybody should have in their collection when it comes to Richard Mille is, I believe, is either the Richard Mille 004 or the Richard Mille 008. The 004 being the split-second chronograph, and the 08 being the split-second chronograph tourbillon. There were a couple of versions of split-second chronograph since, and this is the third version, of which they only made 15 pieces. What's the big deal about the RM004 split-second chronograph going back to the beginning, almost 20 years ago, of Richard Mille, is they were the first company to actually take a split-second chronograph as it's set for years and make it into a single clutch system. And as I've told you numerous times, don't sleep on a chronograph, because chronograph is one of the most complicated complications that's out there. It's very difficult to execute a proper chronograph due to the toll that it takes. A split-second chronograph is actually more complicated to execute than an annual calendar or even a perpetual calendar because of the complexity of the movement. And the way Richard Mille does it, nobody does it better. And when I saw this offered to me, I plopped down a big chunk of change just to have this, because again, with only 15 of these made, you'd be hard pressed to find another one in the world. Go ahead, try, I will wait. And guys, remember, all the badges and stuff that you guys donate, they go to my social media team. So go ahead and badge away. Nina, Nolan, this is their bonuses. We don't keep any of that money. With that said, I am gonna cut this off if there are no questions. I wanna thank you guys for tuning in. YouTube, thank you so much. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one, and I'll see you guys soon.